Okay, so now we're going to talk about what makes a polynomial a function and what makes a polynomial not a function. And if you remember back to parabolas or circles, we just did the vertical line test. This has nothing to do with that. I'm going to draw a picture of a polynomial function and then a picture of one that's not, and maybe you can tell what the difference is. Let's say this is my polynomial function and this is the one that's not. I'm sure you can tell that the one that is a polynomial function is smooth. The one that's not is like jagged and has corners. So if you have jagged corners, it's not a function. Here's another picture that is not a function. This is not a function, one, because of the open holes. And two, because of this space in between. So if you see a picture with open holes or spaces in between, it's not a function. Now we're going to talk about equations that are a function and not a function. So I'm just going to keep my t-chart going. So function, not. And I'm going to show you pretty much all the bad examples. So let's say I have f of x equals 4 over x minus 5. F of x equals 3x to the negative 2 plus 1. And f of x equals square root x plus 6. These are all bad. And f of x equals x to the 2/3 minus 7. That's a 2/3. These are all bad because our first example has an x in the denominator. That's why it's bad. The second example has an x with a negative exponent. So x has a negative exponent. That means it's not a function. The next example, x has a house on top of it. So you have the square root of an x. The next example, you have a fractional exponent of x. So those are all bad examples. These are all examples of a function that these are all examples of a polynomial that is not a function. Here's an example of a good one. Y equals, I want to stay the same. F of x equals 2x cubed minus square root 3x all over 4. Okay, you might think that this is not a function because the 4 is on the bottom, but remember, it's just when the x is on the bottom that it's bad. So this 4 is okay. You might also think that it's not a function because of this house, but remember, it's just when the x is underneath the house that makes it bad. So that square root 3 is actually okay. So anyway, this is an example of a function, and all these other ones are an example of not a function.